Hey guys, and welcome to another one of my #1 Sentai Gozyuger episode commentary and reviews. So, if you enjoy what you see, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It does mean a lot on these videos. And of course, this week it's episode 10. Go, go, go. Showa has arrived. Let's get into the episode. So the episode opens in No.1 world, with Bouquet bowing to Queen Taega-jun, who tells her that they will incorporate additional forces in order to collect the rings, as Osai is walked in by Garyudo, wearing an interesting pair of glasses that block his eyes. Apparently he can only hear the Queen's words now, and because he's the only one who can control Daijujin, they're going to use him. As Bouquet says they don't need him, Queen Taega-jun sends a energy watt pulse out. As she says, do you dare to question me? And Bouquet says no, but she goes, your love should be directed to me. So show me your love and use this man. Walking back from school, I guess, Kinjiro is beatboxing until he sees Samina trying to drive up some custom for a bento shop. Samino tries to pass it off as a one-time only thing, going along with her undercover work. But a guy comes in asking for his usual, and she goes straight for it, which the guy really appreciates. As the guy walks off with his lunch, a voice says, "You're a fan of Showa, huh?" And before you know it, he's sucked in. Elsewhere, Tamino and Kinjiro are talking. She goes, "I might be a detective, but I still got to feed my family." But he likes the fact that she's working there, calls it very Showa. Telling him not to make fun of her, she says, "Don't tell the others." Kinjiro says, "It's fine, but I see it as a compliment." As a No1 monster comes down and says, "Yeah, it's a compliment, alright." As they both jump up in shock. Because it's the No1 World Showa #1. With 100 years since the Showa era started, it's time to show the Rowa era what it was like. And with that, everyone's clothes become very dated. And Samino's handbag turns into a phone strapped to her side. Back at the Taega Cafe, Ryuji's actually given Herero a drink on the house, saying he seems to have his own share of rough family matters. As Ryuji says to him, when your brother carried Osai away, I hope he's okay. But Herero actually says he has an idea of where he might have taken him. As Samino and Kinjiro start to explore the mythical Showa era, although, as Kinjiro points out, it wasn't that long ago. As Samino tries to take a picture, though, she realises her smartphone's turned into a rotary telephone. Though, as No1 Monster points out, they had human interaction instead, and that's what humanity needs today. But as Samino complains, saying, "What does the No1 know about the Showa era?" she's dragged down some tatami mats where the No1 flips a table, and Kinjiro comes over saying, "Wow, it's a stubborn old jerk, classic Showa." As Samino says, "Kinjiro, do something about this." He goes, "I'm actually a silver fox, mate. I challenge you to a Showa battle." And cue the graphics. #1 battle begins. We get some kids playing a game, throwing down some cards, when the No1 monster comes along saying, "Survival of the fittest," slams down a card and wins them all, as the kids cry for losing all their cards. And as for learning English, he puts some headphones on and learns in his sleep. Samino questions how much learning he's actually doing, and he says it doesn't matter. That's just how they did it. Kinjiro says this is all very nostalgic, but he won't be beaten because he's going to get some exercise equipment from the back of a Showa magazine. And of course, celebrating with some go-go dancing in some very 60s-like clothes. The No.1 monster says, yeah, not bad, but what do the judges say? And it's winner No.1. And Kinjiro doesn't understand why he lost. Until the monster says, well, how do you make a phone call? And he mimes it out on his hand, swiping a phone and dialing. Which the monster says, you're a fool. And he mimes dialing on a rotary phone. Which shocks Kinjiro, because he realises he's losing his Showa spirit. As the No.1 monster calls him an outcast of the times, and his wish to be a normal kid again was foolish. And as Samino turns around, Kinjiro's gone. As Samino ends up walking outside of the built-up area, she actually finds the landlady and the kids. And she said, oh, I bet you hate this, like, Showa stuff. And he goes, well, a bit, but look at this. And she climbs up the pile of scree that she's there sitting on and sees a beautiful sunset. As the landlady says, in the current era, this is all built up. And the kid says, I've never seen the sky look this big. And Samina has to agree that neither has she. Heading back into town, she actually finds Kinjiro sat by the river. She says, well, how long are you going to sulk? And he sits there saying he's an outcast from the times. And Samina said, well, why not just act like the No.1 and pretend it's still Showa? And when he says he doesn't know, she says, it's because your dream's tied to current day. And she kind of understands how he feels. She realises it's not so bad in the past, which kind of surprises him. And she says, she's impressed by a beautiful sky. And he says, Roa looks, pretty good from where they're sat as well. Next day, you've got Hiroro and Ryuji. And Hiroro says you can access No.1 World pretty much through any round object. Or at least he thought that was the case. As they're looking, Bouquet comes out of a circle, saying she's come to take their rings. Hiroro asks her what happened to Osai, but she refuses to tell them. Instead, calling up a bunch of the soldiers, as the two Gozyugers transform and fight them off. With Hiroro even using his new Wolf D caliber. Which, in retaliation, Bouquet manages to acquire a pair of flower guns. Meanwhile, back in the Showa era, the No.1's watching the magnificent Zubat on TV while eating a bento, as Kinjiro and Samina return, challenging him to a rematch. And when he says he's not going to, Samino uses her smartphone and takes a picture with the magnificent Zubat appearing, before then showing him all the magnificent Zubat merchandise that is only available in the current day, before pointing out the Noriben lunch that he was eating and Ubering in, or barbering in, a whole feast of bento. And Kinjiro points out that living in the Reiwa era can help you appreciate the Showa like never before. And part of the strength is the combination of the eras, as the two Gozyugers transform. And as they transform, we get the return of the announcer and cheerleaders. But the No Monster says it will never accept Reiwa, as it attacks with some spinning tops, which Goju Unicorn counters with her unicorn drill, as Goju Eagle summons his eagle bow and shoots it up into the air, causing many arrows to come down and destroy the spinning tops. And the No1 monster says he doesn't care how inconvenient the Showa era was. He prefers it. And the Rangers tell him that's what separates you from them. They didn't see it as inconvenience. They're all working hard and working forward to what has obviously become the current era. And Kinjo says it's your nostalgic nonsense that you've lost the spirit of the Showa era. As he dives in with finished finger, pulling out the poor guy that's stuck inside the No1 monster before absorbing him into his chest, and finishing off the No1 monster once and for all. And we get winner, Goju Eagle. Back with the other two that are still fighting the grunts, Bouquet lets off a barrage of shots from her pistols, but they're blocked as the Tiger Sword hand comes down, and it's actually Goju Leon in Tiger Sword Blue. And as Bouquet has a flashback to her precious photo being torn apart, she calls for someone to come out. And with a series of explosions, we get the black and gold Daijujin make its appearance. Tiger Sword Blue fires a bunch of shots from its gun arm, but they're blocked by the Jumama shield, before Daijujin uses its sword to send an energy wave, sending Rikuo flying. As he lands on the ground and the two other rangers finally turn up, they ask what they should do, and the Tiger Sword talks to Herero, saying, use this ring, as it pulls him forward, and he starts clapping, and it's the Ninja ring. And Herero says he can feel hot, like he's burning up, as Tiger Sword says between the effects of the Showa era battle and the ring's mentality, it's charged up. And out of the Tiger Glove comes a giant spinning top, as used in Ninja, which splits into 5, and all 5 Gojugers get their Tiger Swords. As the Rangers all seem a bit surprised, Herero says, just don't get in my way, as he leads the attack on the black and gold Daijujin. But Rikuo says, you know, Herero's not going to get the spotlight, and all 4 of the other Tiger Swords rush in, all using their final move. You know, tells Herero that it's time to finish it, as he calls to Osai to hold on a bit longer, and uses Deca Claw to finish him off. As the black gold Daijujin explodes, and the glasses that Osai was wearing fall to the ground and disappear. Though the 5 Tiger Swords can't decide on a victory pose, as Herero lets out a howl. Back on the ground, Osai's hat rolls into view, and it's picked up by Osai, who thanks them for saving him, though he says he can't remember what the No1s did to him. But he was in darkness, and they all reached out to him. Not that he expected any less from the Sentai that he mentored. And he even says his wish has come true in more ways than he expected. Back at the bento shop, Tamino's back at work, and Kinjiro finds her there again. And she tells him, quit coming around the store, and calls him Grand Kin. And he said, if you want to give me a nickname, call me Kin. And she just says, like, here, take a lunch, Grand Kin. He's like, I'm not buying anything, and call me Kin. So she tries to give him 2. And then she tries to give him 3. And she keeps calling him Grand Kin, as he says, I don't need 3, and walks off. And the episode ends. Okay, so we actually got a few answers and a few questions this time, as well as sort of the smallest amount of character detail about Ryuji. Because he gives her the tea or coffee or whatever the drink was, and says, you know, you've got a troublesome like you got family troubles as well. So as like, you know, people have been talking about on Reddit, you know, all we know about him so far is that his dad's a doctor and he doesn't get on with his family. That's all we know about him at the moment. So it's like just the tiniest little thing, just sort of confirming that family issues sort of aspect to him. Also, Herrera seems to be the only one that knows about the circle travel. I mean, obviously, I'm guessing Ryuji knows that as well now, but they didn't know that. I mean, they've got the circles on their chests where they get their weapons from and they use to save people. So, and not to mention, like, when those, like, bell-headed soldier guys come out, they come out of a circle, and then they each come out the circle of the one in behind them. So there's a whole load of circle things going on, but they hadn't noticed the circle aspect of it. I mean, there seems to be a big circle thing here. Unless that means we're going back to Go Ranger. You know, maybe Toei is telling us that it's all one big circle, and next year we're getting new Go Ranger. Oh, we're finally getting Shin Go Ranger. I know people have been waiting for that for a long time. People have been asking for it. On top of that, 5 Taker Swords. I mean, love it. Is that going to be a repeating thing? You know, is Hero going to have to use the ninja power like every episode now, so that we get 5 Taker Swords every time? Is that how they get around? Which means it's really unfair for like the consumers, because we can never recreate that unless we buy 5 of those guys. And I'm sorry, but that is just too damn expensive. It's too much. So it's a shame, but yeah, I would have preferred a combiner like we've had pretty much every other season, with the exception of like that one. Although we did get combiners later in the series. You know, everything else behind me is, you know, a combiner of one sort of or another. You know, 5 into 1 with a 6th one with a 7th one. You know, that again, combiner, even if it left out one of the others. 5 part, 5 part, 10, 5, 1, 5, 5, 5, 5, 3, 3, that's a single, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, and 5. Everything's been a combiner for so many years, with the exception of Mega Ranger. I'd like to see a combiner late in the season. I really would. I don't know if they're going to. And I want to know what's the significance of circles this year. Is there more to it than we're realizing? But also, good news for anyone who is interested in my Build a Megazord stuff, which you can see just up there. I've actually got 2 packs on the way. So if you're wondering why the videos have stopped, they're coming. They're actually coming. Finally. So yeah, I'll have about, I don't know, 10, 12 more videos to start putting together soon for that. So at least we're getting something. That giant Daijujin is finally going to start being built. Anyway, I've gotten the video very late this week, so it's going to be late up. So I better get editing. And I'll see you guys next week.